China's One Belt, One Road initiative is a $5 trillion investment project. Trying to recreate the Silk Road of the Han Dynasty, China has launched a new infrastructure project which will build roads, bridges, gas pipelines, ports, railways and power plants across Asia, Europe and Africa. These projects, with 52 nations confirmed to have participated, is estimated to affect 62% of the world's population and 30% of the world's economic output. China envisions the Belt Road Initiative project as a big family of harmonious coexistence, which will help the economies of states in the region and boost connectivity and cooperation. However, the initiative has raised skepticism from parties concerned by China's motives. Academics are debating whether Chinese interests are innocently economic or perhaps represent a neo-colonial agenda.
The debate is whether it is purely driven by China's economic motives, domestic economic needs, or is it driven by broader geopolitical, geostrategic ambitions? Right? Economically, when it was announced, China was facing problems related to the the global economic crisis that started in 2008.
China faced closing global markets in the wake of the crisis and issues of overproduction. They needed a way of reopening the global market and protecting its economy. Therefore, the BRI can be seen as a response to the short-term issue of global recession of 2008. However, there are also longer-term motivations behind the BRI.
A long-term ambition of upgrading its economy from being the factory of the world to doing being at the higher end of the production chain. Basically, China wants to do what Japan, South Korea, and the Western economies have been doing. When China pushes the Belt and Road Initiative in various parts of the world, many observers see economic factors as just the tip of the spear, and behind it there are lots of political, geostrategic ambitions that have to do with responding to America's Asia-Pacific rebalance and all the pressures that China is facing from America and its allies in East Asia.
A key case study in the Mekong region is the BRI in Laos. China has been the largest foreign investor of Laos for more than 2 decades. The latest section of the BRI in Laos is a cross-regional railway connecting the Yunnan province in China to Laos capital Vientiane. This project has been widely criticised, with Morimi Kishimoto arguing that such infrastructure will ultimately create more cost than benefit to Laos. The railway is projected to cost $6 billion, which is more than twice the annual budget of Laos. Unable to pay for the railway itself, Laos had to rely on Chinese loans of nearly $500 million in order to complete the project. Laos already has 65% of its GDP as debt, and thus these new loans will only create more financial issues for Laos. Workers in the procurement of the railway predominantly belong to the Chinese government, which makes it difficult for Laos to have any influence over the project. This has been made possible through the conditions put on loans by China, often referred to as debt trapping. As Laos falls further in debt to China, China will have more control. Despite many criticisms, within Laos, many think positively of the railway as it enhances travel and tourism opportunities. However, it is clear that China will be the one to obtain the short to mid-term gains, whilst the huge amount of debt caused by the project will mean Laos will struggle to see a financial gain from the railway in the near future. Overall, the railway could even be described as China's public infrastructure, built by the Chinese in the interest of China, not Laos. This project has created yet another link between China and South Asia, and Laos has been used as a vessel to serve Chinese economic interests or perhaps a geopolitical agenda.
Like Zambia, Kenya, they have been facing problems paying China back, and China taking over ports and various kinds of infrastructure that China has helped to build. And then if you go to Southeast Asia, Malaysia and a number of Southeast Asian countries also had problems with Belt and Road Initiative projects. So under the new Prime Minister Mahathir, there was rhetoric about China being a neo-colonial empire, exploiting Southeast Asia, and then there were also renegotiation of the Belt and Road Initiative project. And similarly in Central Asia, in places like Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, although the governments and elites are quite happy with the arrangements, at the grassroots level, people feel a lot of resentment and fears about Chinese economic exploitation.
In conclusion, the BRI can be seen as a geopolitical move by China to economically dominate the Asian subcontinent. China is using its economic hegemony to exert its will on neighbouring states, granting China control over states that are too poor and too trapped with debt to resist their will. However, the tide is turning against the BRI as states learn of the issues caused by China's neo-colonial agenda. States are becoming more uncertain about the benefits of the BRI and are worried by the potential costs. Ultimately, the future of the BRI is far from certain.